Hey guys, and welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Down South. Today we're looking at another first place deck profile, except this time he didn't really come first place because for some reason there was a top cut at the regionals he went to. So Prenesh, even though he went 6-0 in Swiss, he ended up losing in top 4 with this deck. But that doesn't mean that it's not first place, because technically 6-0 is first place for a regional. So this is Prenesh Naidoo's first place Trickstar build from the Pretoria regional that happened last month. So, starting off the profile, pretty simple. We got 3 Candina, 3 Lycaris, and 1 Lilybell. And then just skipping over this and this for a second, we've got 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Ghost Ogre, and 3 Drone Lockbird, all completely and perfectly standard. Now, as far as the other things go, we've got Double Honest, which, like I said in my previous video, I didn't really like Double Honest. When I played it in my regional, it was terrible. But Prenesh's reasoning was this idea that, like, Trickstar, because they're tiny weeny babies, can't get over anything. So putting in triple Eater of Millions and 2 Honest is just Prenesh's way of dealing with big threats on the board, so that Trickstar can go on and do whatever Trickstar does best. So that's it for the monster lineup. Pretty standard. 21, which is interesting because the deck has 41 cards. Prenesh, just go to 42. 42 is just 100 times better. I promise you, just that one extra card does so much, I swear. Going on to the spells, we've got the 2 board wipes for Geki and Darkhole, because obviously, like I said, Trickstars are weenie babies, so you've got to kill the board somehow. Then we've got Double Potted Desires and the 6 Field Spell engine, where we have 3 Terraforming and 3 Trickstar Light Stage, as well as the 3 Spicy Scapegoat. Not really that spicy when Trickstars can't really do much without Scapegoat, because like I said, they don't really have an inherent win condition. But you got to use it while you can. If you saw yesterday's video on my ban list predictions, it'll be interesting to see how what this deck does if Scapegoat ends up going to 1. But we'll see what happens. And then rounding out the deck with the traps, looks pretty much identical to my build as far as traps go, except he only ran the 2 strikes instead of 3 strikes. So he's running 3 Reincarnation, 2 Solemn Strike, 1 Solemn Judgment, and 1 Solemn Warning, and that rounds it off for the main deck. Now, the extra deck is interesting because, as you can see, most of them are Cherries targets, but there are still some interesting oddball choices that Prenesh made that are just interesting to go over. So obviously the 1 Break Sword, which is pretty standard, but then you get into Grand Pulse, and why Grand Pulse exactly? Now, obviously, the idea is that Grand Pulse is either going to eat up a back row by falling into a Solemn Strike, or it's going to pop a back row when it can. So that's the reasoning behind it. But what I found with Trickstars, and again, this is just personal experience, what I found is that it's not quite necessary, because most of the time they're going to be striking or judgmenting or warning your Trickstars, as opposed to waiting for you to consolidate the resources into the Grand Pulse, as well as the fact that it's just kind of hard and like a bit of a waste of resources to use 2 Lycaris to do most of the time what Break Sword is doing anyway. But again, that's just me, and like I said, Prenesh went 6-0, so who am I to argue with him? Then we got a couple of Link 4s. We got Borrowloads, or Yuja, Firewall. None of this is particularly interesting per se. As far as Link 3s, just the Deco Talker and then the 1 Holly Angel. Now, Holly Angel, like I said, you just gotta do it in Trickstars. It's useful. And Decode is fairly generic. What I don't see here, however, is the Ibn Ningirsu combo. Why not? Well, if you're running 4 Cherries targets, it's kind of tough to get the Ibn Ningirsu combo in. And for the most part, with Scapegoat these days, it looks like you're making Soyuja as opposed to Ibn Ningirsu, just to get the draw and sort of the non-targeting Ignister, if you know what I'm saying. Moving on, we got the 1 Mrs. Radiant instead of 2. Like I said, I played 2. Mainly, ironically, as an Eater of Millions target, but 1 is perfectly fine, and you generally only go into 1 with Scapegoat anyway. The 1 Underclock Taker, because it's a really good generic Link 2, and the 2 Link Spiders, rounding off stuff, because you need 2 Link Spiders for Scapegoat. Guess what, boys? It's coming in ulti soon. Go watch that video if you haven't already. And then we've got 4 Cherries targets. We have a Dragon Buster, a Dante, an Electromite, and a Double Helix. Now, that's probably pretty standard for what you'd expect with a Pretoria meta, so I don't think there's anything to be said there. The interesting sort of thing that was left off here is no invoked Mechaba, and that's interesting because, well, if it were me, all of Durban, just everywhere, there seems to be invoked in Top Cut. Every single regional, every single tournament I go to, there's always invoked in Top Cut somewhere. So that's really interesting. If it were me, I'd probably sub out the Grand Pulse for the Mekaba, but could be an interesting thing going forward. Now, his side deck is just interesting. Again, like Lingisa before him, he opted to play basically just 5 cards in his side deck, except he's playing 3 copies of each. Starting off the spicy triple Chaos Hunter. Now, guys, if you live in South Africa, just get yourself a playset of Chaos Hunters. Do yourself a favor, because this is just such an interesting side deck card that can be used in a variety of different applications, and it's good against a lot of random decks. It's good against Trickstar, although that's only if they don't have the reincarnation, but it's also good against things like ABC, Invoked. There are the most random decks that Chaos Hunter's good in, or good against, and it's a common printing from the Magician Pendulum structure deck. So there's no reason not to get your hands on a playset. So guys, you heard it here first. Go and get your Chaos Hunters, preferably from me. Vendor talking here. So anyway, moving on, we've got 3 Ghost Reaper, again, just to go with all the targets that Prenesh is running in his extra deck. And then the triple Cosmic Cyclone. Once again, another side deck staple when it comes to South Africa, because it's just so good and so versatile. Now, Prenesh ironically said that he was thinking of changing up the Cosmic Cyclones for Typhoons, because Typhoon just does a little bit more in the True Draco matchup. But Cosmic Cyclone's good anyway, and it just normally it'll do what it needs to do, and it's better against Rogue, so it's a bit of a toss-up there, but I can see where he's going with it. And then, once again, the spicy triple evenly matched. Again, you can see this boy has money. Like I said, I feel like evenly matched is a side deck staple 3 of at this point, just because it's so good against so many things. I actually ran triple evenly matched in the main deck at a regional in November, which I won. And I won because of evenly matched. Most of my wins at this regional that I showed you the deck profile for, I also won because of evenly matched. And evenly matched is so good in Trickstar because the deck is just terrible at everything. It's so tiny weeny that sometimes you need to ghost egg and completely wipe the board entirely to sort of make most of your major plays. So triple evenly matched here is probably a pretty good call. And then rounding it all off, we got triple anti-spell fragrance, mainly for the Magician Mirror match. But a lot of other spell-heavy decks could have run around in Pretoria from what I've heard, so I can understand that reasoning. And then one last thing Prenesh wanted me to mention, this idea that in the Magician matchup, speaking of the Magician matchup, he would just straight side out triple Ash Blossom for triple Reaper, because Ash Blossom is really not that good against Magicians, and it worked out really fine, because if you can hit the Electromite, even if Reaper is terrible to draw past turn 1, you hit the Electromite, it's pretty much game over for Magicians. So it's cool, and this list evidently did really well for him. So good job, Prenesh, and thank you so much for the profile. If you'd like to see more content like this, leave a comment down below. Like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And sort of tell me what other kind of content you'd like to see. Like I said, I'm working on a sort of rogue thing and a lot of cool little live action things. So it'll be interesting to see where the channel goes from here, and I'm really excited to share this journey with you. So thanks guys, and I'll see you next time.